up, y'all? Today we are making doll stands. We have 7 designs. Some are easier than others. Let's start out with the easiest one. I use this one on a regular basis. You can barely see it, right? So my background is often white, so it only makes sense to have a doll stand that's white to blend in when showcasing products. So this is the doll stand I often use when doing my unboxings. It's made from 2 pieces of foam board, often scraps left over from a project. I cut a rectangle that is 3 inches wide and about 6 inches long. My second piece is 2 inches wide, and of course, sizes can vary depending on your scraps. Then we can cut it at 7 inches. Then I like to cut it in half at an angle. So it's kind of like a trapezoid, and we can have a little square area on the ends. Then use an X-Acto knife and cut. So you end up with 2. Take one, then glue it onto the foam board, making a right angle in the center. I'm using a little bit of hot glue right on the end, then glue it onto the foam board. And that's it. I place the doll's feet on the front and allow the body to lean against the foam to support the doll so it can stand. And on a white background, it's not incredibly noticeable. You can see it if the doll stands to the side, but if they are wearing a dress, just put the doll stand under the dress to hide it. Since the doll is just leaning against the foam, if you hit the table or rock your shelves or whatnot, the doll may fall off the stand. But I am not a huge fan of seeing the bracket around my doll's waist, so I often lean them against things to help them to stand. Stand number 2. This one is also pretty easy. I use this when I want to add a little splash of color. It's an instant background for our doll photography, and we can get pretty creative with it. Cut a 6 by 12 rectangle of foam board for the base, and a 12 by 12 or 12 by 14 rectangle for the walls. Glue the wall in the middle of the base, and you can be done right there. Just lean your doll up against the wall to take photos and display. We can also glue on printables to turn it into an easy scene, or cut 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch strips of foam board, glue a wood grain scrapbook paper to the floor, then glue on the strips of foam board. I added them to the bottom, then some a few inches up, and we made a couple of different rectangles to glue onto the walls for a little architectural detail. It's nice and neutral, so we can use it with a variety of different dolls. We can also flip it over to the other side, glue on scrapbook paper or printables to make another background so it's reversible. So we have more options for our display. So here we have a doll stand, a display, and a quick background for an easy photo op. I made my collage wall using pictures from my Instagram. You can also use stickers or cutouts from magazines. For our next stand/display, I cut 2 6 by 14 inch rectangles. Now if these seem a bit large for you, you can always reduce the size by half. Glue them together, making a right angle. Then I cut a 9 by 9.5 inch rectangle for the base. So this is like our walls, and this is the floor. Cover the walls with printables or scrapbook paper. Cut 1 inch rectangles of foam board, glue them together, cover with paper to clean up the edges, then glue them onto the corner. Add some trim to the top, place it on the base, trace around it, cover the parts that will be visible with scrapbook paper. I'm using a printable that I made. Glue the walls on top to make the corner of a building so we can lean the doll against the wall for a decorative doll stand display. The other side is black and can be used as a display as well. Plus, it's perfect for photos. We can make more than one, and we can combine them with other crafts, like our doll storefront, to make fabulous scenes. For our next stand/display, let's make something a little smaller. I found a scrap of foam board. It is 5.5 inches by 8 inches. This is definitely more than we need. Cover it with scrapbook paper. I'm using a sand print. Take large wooden dowels. Decide where you want them to go. I want mine to be right about here, so I'm going to flip it over onto the back. Mark the spot. Trace around the end of the wooden dowels. Cut it out so the wooden dowels can fit securely in the foam on the other side. But before we glue those in, take a paper bag, tear off the top, then open it up, and we're just going to tear thin lines of the bag going all the way down. Wrap the wooden dowels with the paper. Then we just want to rough up those edges. Once wrapped, glue them in place. Take green cardstock, fold it over, cut half of a leaf shape. While it's still folded, we're going to just cut out a couple of blades. Repeat to make several. Glue them on top of the wooden dowels. Position your doll under the tree to use as a stand and a decorative display. This stand has a smaller base, so it's easier to store. And we could choose to have the doll sit down with a few personal items to make the scene more fun. If you would like taller trees, we can just cut and glue together more wooden dowels. Here's another idea for a smaller stand. Here is a piece of foam board. This one measures 7.5 inches by 6 inches, and I'm using a few bamboo skewers. Originally, I was going to use wooden dowels, but these are thinner. Paint the skewers white. Cover the foam board with scrapbook paper or a printable. For this stand, we will also need Easter eggs and string. Take the skewers, and we're going to cross them at the center, making a little tripod. Then push them into the foam. Add a little glue at the bottom to secure them, and glue them together where they cross as well. Glue plastic eggs on top of the skewers. I like to make a small hole in the bottom of the balloon. I mean egg. It's an egg, but we're making it look like a balloon. And then you can just put the skewer in the hole and add a little glue on the inside, then attach the top. Attach string to other plastic eggs. Glue the plastic egg to the other plastic eggs. I got these clear capsules from a gumball machine. Let's fill them with some gold paper. Close them inside. And with these, I can just knot the end of the string and close it on the side. These are pretty cool because you can fill them with whatever you like and you'll see it through the balloon. I'm just going to glue it in so it's on its side and we don't see that seam. Normally we would glue them like that, but I'm not loving that, so we're gonna do it like this. Once you get the look that you want, grab all of the strings and have them meet where the skewers cross. Take another piece of string, tie it around it so it looks like a large bunch of balloons. Position the doll so her hand rests against the bamboo skewers for a fun way to stand and display our dolls. The next one is super easy, but it works best with a doll with strong ankles or with boots. I'm going with these because I have a ton of them and they will provide some ankle support. I am also using foam board. However, if you don't want to use foam board, you can sub it for cardboard and scrapbook paper or a printable. Start by covering the foam board with the paper. I'm using a glue stick and I'm pretty generous with the glue. Place it on the paper, then glue the excess over the edge. Then glue the shoes directly onto the foam board. I used hot glue because I can always remove the shoe later if I choose. Allow it to dry, then carefully place the doll's feet inside of the shoes. Take a moment to make sure they're balanced and they can stand. I think this stand is pretty easy. However, there are a couple of things that can go wrong. Weak ankles will make the doll shift back and forth. If you have a tall boot like a welly, that is perfect, but you do want to make sure it's easy to get the doll in and out of the shoe. I tried this technique with clear plastic, and while it looked great, my plastic was just a little too bendy. So if you can find one that is made of firmer stuff, then you're golden. This is a great time for dolls without ankles to shine, like fashionistas. But keep in mind that you will need to make different shoe stands for the dolls with different body types because they have different shoe sizes. We are going to start out with another piece of foam board, scrapbook paper or a printable, a wooden dowel, recycled paperboard, paint, a bead, clear plastic, and hot glue. I start by drawing a S shape on a piece of paper, place clear plastic on top, and trace over it with hot glue. Trying to be as neat as possible. I've made a couple of these and we'll just take the best ones. Put them aside and allow them to dry. Take the foam board, cover it with paper, place the wooden dowel on the foam board, and make a hole. Mark on the wooden dowel where it meets the foam. Cut the recycled paper into thin strips. Mine are 2 inches wide. Roll them around the wooden dowel, starting at the line marked. On second thought, I decided to go with a 3.5 inch piece first, and I secured the ends with glue. Then I continued down, adding different widths of paper. Add lines of hot glue for more detail. Cut paperboard into thin strips, then stack and glue them together. Paint them. I started with a black base coat. While waiting for that to dry, let's glue a bead onto the top of the pole and paint all of that black as well. Then glue it onto the foam board. Paint the paperboard to look like a sign, and we can always just glue on a cut piece of paper to give a more vibrant, even color. Paint on the street names, glue them onto the pole, peel the glue off of the plastic, glue them on under the signs, touch up the paint to make a street sign that we can use to support our dolls so they can stand. So there you have it, 7 ideas to create stands and displays for our dolls. I think it is really cool how we can use them together to create scenes because you know me, I like things to be functional and playworthy at the same time. Thank you for joining us for another 7 quick crafts. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And we will see you next time. Bye!